And as we all know, it requires not only a lot of data to train AI models, but also a lot of energy. So I think it's time we address this question. Because energy is not only a topic that's on everybody's mind at the moment. Businesses, governments, individual households are looking at more sustainable and cheaper sources of energy. And I am looking forward to the next conversation and the next keynote address by Rainer Sedelmayer, who studied economics. And let's give it up for Rainer. And Rainer has been a leading figure in the photovoltaics industry since 1990, so quite early on. Rainer holds various key leading roles in organizations, including the Photovoltaic Austria Federal Association, sorry for that, and he runs his own company, Solar Energy Devices. So Rainer, please tell us about the future of energy.
Thank you. Welcome. Can you hear me? Yes, okay. So she told we are working, or I was working since 1990 in the photovoltaics. You can see I have no anymore any hair because photovoltaics up to now was quite, let's say, interesting business with a lot of restraints. And we will try to have a good look in the future. The topic is future energy. And the first thing I have to tell you, there is no future energy. There is no past energy, there is only energy. I will start with some basics, and to be honest, you will hear no statistics, you will hear no figures and so on, because all of this you can find in the internet, and in my opinion, this is not the really interesting thing. Please, first chart. I go a little bit on the side. So this is the second. The first, please. Yes. Energy in the international system is defined as joule. You have to know this. There are different definitions with Newton meter or with watt second. Watt knows everything, everybody. If you buy a car, in the past it was PS. Power horse, now it is watt or kilowatt, and so this is the force, and if you multiply force by the time, you have the energy. Second, very well known is Mr. Albert Einstein with his very famous formula E is m multiplied by c squared speed of light. Nobody knows how to handle it, but we have to take into account, was an intelligent guy, it should be correct. And the most important thing, even for my presentation here, are the next 3 lines. Please read it. Energy cannot be created. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be converted or transformed. This is an important message, not really well known by most of the people. So future energy means only what will be in future, but it will be the same energy as today. Important to know and important for you if you are looking for applications. Next, please. This is only to show you where the name Joule is coming. All of this, including the photovoltaics effect, was midst of before last century. He made a lot of tests with a very important machine, which looks like modern machines, as you can see. And as thank you from the community, we took his family name as unit. Thank you. Bye. Stop. So this is these are the basics. Now, as I told you, you cannot produce energy. You can only transform energy from one status into another status. Let's say like electricity to heat. Everybody knows it from your warm water boiler. And there are different possibilities to convert or to transform it. Everybody knows electricity. We will come to it later. We know thermic, so heat. We know movement, kinetic, potential, chemical, and the last is radiation. Radiation means waves. If we are phoning with our smartphone, some energy is used in the form of waves. The most well known from everybody is electricity, and one of the possibilities to produce energy by electricity is to transform the light coming from the sun to electricity by photovoltaic effect, which was created in 1839 by Mr. Becquerel from France. And interesting to know, Mr. Albert Einstein, who is well known for his relativity theory, he got the Nobel Prize not for the relative theory, because at that time nobody understood it. He got the Nobel Prize because he could explain the photovoltaic effect. Okay, so we know now no production, no destruction, only transformation. And the second topic on my short form is long-term goals. And the long-term goal is quite clear. We will use a source of energy, which we will transform only from the sun. There is a second possibility to use it. Please, the chart. The chart, please. This is a human energy. So you can imagine we have 9 billion of inhabitants. Let's say everybody is working 6 hours a day. So you divide 9 billion divided to 4 sessions. And this quantity of people are sitting on a dynamo producing energy. This is also possible. What do? They transform what they have eaten before into electricity by movement. But it remains always the same energy. So please chart off that the man within do not look too much to this nice lady. Long term, I repeat, is the source, the sun. What we are using today is the same thing. Because when we take out oil from the earth or coal, it was how created by the energy of the sun. It was stocked by a long-term effect, chemical effects into earth. We are taking it out. So we are changing and we are using it, for instance, in the cars or in the power plants. But we, in future, due to secondary effects like CO2 or NOx or all these nice things which you can read every day in the newspapers, we should try in future to use the energy which is coming from outside, from the sun. And you know that what we need in the whole world in energy, it is related to 1 or 2 minutes of what the sun is producing or is emitting as energy. Never forget, the whole energy remains the same. And to take, for instance, photovoltaic effect, today we are speaking an efficiency of approximately 15–18%, which means from 1000 watt coming from the sun, we are using maximum 150 to 200 watt. The other is reflected again or changed into heat because photovoltaic modules get warm. So we have the chance to transform the light, which is one form of energy, photons, into electricity, but not very efficient. And this will be one point for our future look, to see how we can increase the efficiency. So what is actually avoiding that we are using only the sun energy, that everything is much slower than foreseen, then new technologies are much more expensive than the existing. The main point is politics. Because politics in our society is responsible to define the framework of working, the conditions, the regulations. And I told you I'm working in the photovoltaics since 1990. And believe me, I saw a lot of things, but most of them are hot air coming out of the mouths of a lot of politicians. And the ugly thing is, up to today, nothing changed, including up to ministers without saying any words. A lot of blah blah, and if you go into details, you will see the reality is a little bit different, unfortunately. But we are the sovereign, we can change it. The second thing, which is avoiding that we are doing what we could do, is raw materials. Give you an example. Everybody is speaking today from lithium batteries, lithium-based batteries or lithium-ion-based batteries. We have in our smartphones, we have in our batteries for photovoltaic applications, we have in our cars. And the quantity of lithium worldwide is limited. Like everything, there is nearly nothing unlimited. We have a lot of water in the sea, but from lithium we have not so much. And I take another point with, the question is, in which hand is it? To give you an example, in Austria, in Carinthia, we have a big potential for lithium. Intelligent Austrians sold it a lot of years ago to some foreign investment group, fortunately not to China or other dictators, but we do not have it in hand anymore. And for a lot of future and actual techniques, we need special raw material. I do not speak the lithium, which is necessary, for instance, for photovoltaics, because theoretically, lithium we have unlimited. Everybody who was in Lignano on the beach is full with sand, and this is a form of silicium. Quite clear, you cannot use it like that. You have to purify it, but there is a lot of material, like I got the example with lithium, which are limited. And today you can read in the newspapers we should do a lot of electric cars, which need a battery, but the people who can calculate told us it will not be possible to replace all diesel or fuel cars by electric because we have not enough raw material for the batteries. So when we think in future, please have always in mind, don't start with using special raw material, because perhaps not today, but after today, after tomorrow, it will be a problem with price, etc., etc. There's another point, which is the misalignment of energy production and energy consumption. We will come back to this point later. What do I mean? Take Austria. All windmills of Austria are situated in Vienna and east of it. Why? Because the wind is coming down from the Alps, and there you have the wind power. There's nearly nothing in Salzburg, there's nothing in Tyrol and Vorarlberg, despite the political question, because everybody wants to have it, but not in his neighborhood, somewhere else. A very well-known example is the windmills in the northwest coast of Germany, including in the sea, nearby the coast. You have the wonderful permanent wind conditions, but nobody needs the energy which is produced here. The energy is needed, let's say, in the middle and in the south of Germany. And we can read every day that the motorway of energy cannot be made because it had to be large, some kilometers, and nobody will pay it. Nobody will allow it. So this can be a problem. Second, if I am asked, a specialist in photovoltaics, where I should place my photovoltaic plant, I give you an answer. Top of the Großglockner. Wonderful condition. Permanent sunshine, quite clear during day. No fog, no nothing. No rain most of the time. Production optimum and not so hot. Everything which is wished by photovoltaics. Only one problem, nobody needs the energy there. And if you make the big cables to come down, you have losses and all what we will discuss. So there are other things too. There is a problem that up to now we forgot to internalize the costs of production, of usage. You purchase juice in a paper, and then when you have drunken it, you throw it away. If you know that you have to eat the paper too, you will ask how to pack it, or you will come, like even I could learn when I was really young. I went every day with a can to the shop and brought 1 liter of milk. I had no problem with packing. We have lost completely this idea. And in future, we have to come back. What you produce as waste, you have, to eat, or you are responsible to recycle it at your costs. Quite clear this will be integrated in the price of products, but it will be a huge market, and it only started today. That you produce costs, and the other should pay. You know who is the most well-known holy person in Europe? Mr. Florian. Please burn the houses of the other and protect my own house. This mentality is existing, and we should in future try to avoid it. And there is quite clear what I told you, the international politics. When countries like Russia starts to use their raw materials as politics, or America against China, stopping sending integrated circuits or high technology and things like that, which we should have in mind in future. Worldwide life will not be easier than today. What we learned, we thought a certain while in the late 80s, 90s, worldwide trading is wonderful. Yes, it is. But we forgot that we are dependent. And we could see, for instance, with the Corona crisis, when for several months no ship could be unloaded and reloaded in the China harbors, that the whole European and American economy broke down. And if one ship is blocked in the Suez Channel for months, and one container was for an Austrian producer of photovoltaic modules for the raw material, everything is blocked because one ship had a problem because the captain or the organization of the Suez Channel did not take into account the bad weather. In future, we should try our best, and you are invited to participate with your future business model to avoid these problems. Now, what are the opportunities for startups today, middle term, long term, in the field of energy, transition, conversion, not production? The most important is efficiency. Try to avoid losses. Give you an example. If I eat a good Wiener Schnitzel and then I want to make movement by sports, I will transpire. I lose a part of my schnitzel by heat. This is not only ugly for the climate investment, you know, the 3% from the climate rising is coming from the bicyclist because they are transpirating while moving. This is inefficient because there are some rules, some international well-known rules. The transformation from one energy status, Wiener Schnitzel, to movement cannot be without loss. I told you photovoltaics, the photons are coming, and what is coming out to the inverter is maximum 18%. And the industry tries a lot to increase it. Theoretically, it could be 40 or 50%, but only in theory. It do not work. If you have a car and you take the fuel with 100% of energy in form of fuel, and you go on the motorway, the efficiency is not so big. And I do not discuss details. With electrical car, it is better, but nevertheless, you lose a lot of energy. And this is, for instance, one problem we are discussing today with green fuel. To produce green fuel or green gas, you need a lot of energy to produce it. And when you have the status of, let's say, green fuel, and then you use it, for instance, for cars, you have another loss. So the total losses are enormous, which is, let's think positive, a good chance for you all to think day and night how we can reduce the losses. If you take the energy cell, it's the same thing. First of all, theoretically, it's easy to put positive and negative electrode into water. It starts bubbling. You have the hydrogen. But to bring it, to press it into a tank, to bring it to the car, and do all these things, there are a lot of losses, which can be reduced. Start to think how it works. You are not alone. I can give you the assurance for this. But there is a lot to do by reducing, increasing the efficiency. And one thing is reduction of consumption. The best way to spend less money is to avoid to do it. Well, if you go take your charger for the smartphone, don't forget, when you have charged your smartphone, take it out from the grid. Because even only being there, it are some losses. And there is a whole industry which can think over where to reduce losses everywhere. Storage. When we take photovoltaic as an example, I told you we have 15% energy, then the energy is converted sometimes into alternate current, Wechselstrom, or it remains direct current, it charges a battery. But you cannot take out 100% of what you put in, you have losses. The normal technologies are losses of, let's say, up to 20%. Industry is trying to do it a little bit less, but nevertheless, if you store something, you have losses. Austria was in the past a big exporter by value, not by quantity, of stored water. In the Tiroler Alps and so on, we have a lot of seas. In the night, you have or at moments where we do not need all the energy which we produce, you pump the water up, and when you need it, you let it go down to the power plant. Losses, losses, losses. This is another type of storage. We try our best to do it, and especially with windmill. A good part of the wind energy we produce near Vienna is transported 500 kilometers to Tyrol to pump up water that we have when we need peak energy, then we can transport it back. Don't ask me how much the losses are. We all pay it with our electricity bill. Then there is a point which can be very important for startups which are working in electronics. Anti-terrorism, anti-cybercriminality. We are speaking today, everybody has a smart meter. Instead of the old energy counter, you get more and more smart meter. Theoretically, we should be ready in Austria. Quite clear we are not. But it will still take some time. And then you have an entrance of your building or of your apartment, a smart meter. The smart meter do much more than counting. He is even able to tell you from 5 o'clock afternoon to 7 o'clock afternoon, you pay more for your energy. This is the main reason. That when they have too much energy, it do not cost more. If they do not have enough energy, you pay more. Or you take this information to adapt your behavior. Example, your washing machine. You are not allowed in future to wash your clothes in the evening. You have to do it when the sun is shining, because then you have from your photovoltaic plant energy. And this is a huge market if you are able to help to optimize. I will come back to this point to go a little bit nearer. If you create the smart meters are connected by internet with Salzburg Energy and so on. If they can read what your smart meter is emitting, and if they can instruct you to increase the price, every terrorist is able to do it. As you know, there's a cable, you can come in, and everybody who tells you it is sure nothing is happening, it's wrong. If you are able, as software specialist, to create solutions which cannot be hacked, big market, really big market. Telling the washing machine that she should work when the sun is shining, this is standard today. When the inverter have more than, let's say, 20% of his output, he given by a relay a signal, the machine starts. If 5 minutes later the cloud is stopping the sunshine, this logic theoretically could be handled, but the washing machines do not like it, to interrupt their work. But the question to be sure that not the Chinese tell all the Chinese inverters stop, who knows? We can read it every day, quite clear for us by the Americans. Don't use Huawei products for the 5G technology. The problem is that they were the first, they have a lot of patents, and without Huawei it's not so easy. But we have to be aware that there is somebody who presses the push button, all power stations are standing, and what's then? Do you have enough candlelight at home? Not so easy, yeah? And there is a big market if you are able to protect. I will come back to it. So, and the last thing is, again, human beings. Please, the next chart. Mobility of future. The only problem is we need a lot of more shoes because you can see it will not be so easy. Human energy can be used in a lot of applications, as I told you before, on the dynamo, even the mobility, and we can see this idea is 10,000 years old, so no problem at all. Thank you. Possible applications for artificial intelligence in the energy market. Smart grids. We had in the past, due to very simple commercial experience, if you get bigger, the costs are sinking. There is one example where it do not work. This is a state administration. They get bigger and bigger, but not more efficient. But in commercial life, if you get bigger, normally the unit costs are sinking. The disadvantages, you are depending of one point. If Amazon, good example, has a problem with the politics, they make a strike, and in half Europe you get no material anymore, because on one point there's a problem. If a bridge is breaking down, or if the channel of Suez is blocked, life is stopped. So future will be to make much more local, including the energy transformation from sun to electricity. We do not need a 3 gigawatt power plant in Burgenland. We need 100,000 small power plants on your house with a battery and being able to work without grid, technology from today. If something is working in one house, the other is still working, which is complete against the thinking of industry and complete unless the thinking of politics, because politics want to have all in hand. There is no difference between Austria and China. If you ask the politicians, they are sure the only intelligent they are. And so centralization, having all under control, is very common, but it is not intelligent for the future energy. And the moment you have a smart grid, so very local, you have to assure that the connection with the next smart grid is working, or if there is some problem, that it is working in an autonomous way. There's a lot of industry who is working day and night to develop products. So this is perhaps not your business of the future, except of your family name is Mr. Siemens. But for instance, we have since 2 years Energiegemeinschaft, which means you are allowed now to sell your photovoltaic energy to your neighbor if you don't need it. Theoretically, you can sell it 500 kilometers away. This is not so efficient, but in a local side, there is a little bit less taxes. And now, if you are able to optimize the washing machines of all the group which is connected with a group of photovoltaic, there is a big market. Up to today, I learned to know only companies which are handling for you against fee the stupid Austrian way of regulation, because you have paperwork unlimited for this up to today. But to not only to handle the calculation and the billing, but to optimize the washing machines, to remain with this example, with all the users which are part of this smart grid, a big market. Because up to today, there's nearly nothing. Pure electronics. And if you combine it with security, anti-cyber or anti-terrorist, start today to think over how you can do it. Mobility, car sharing, in an intelligent way, not like in Vienna where you have the small cars and all these bicycles, and they are let anywhere. And now we are reducing the quantity because politics in the last 10 years slept and did not look at the problems. It can be much more intelligent. How to share in a good way, so that you have a car which is nearby, that it is clean, that it is full with fuel or with energy, electric energy. This is software. This is thinking over where's a problem, and I have a solution for it. Optimum for startups. Because for the big industry, it is very difficult to develop this and to bring it on the market. As I told you, optimization of energy production on one side and energy consumption. Thinking over how you can bring these 2 points as near as possible. Micro power plants, photovoltaics, I told you, and a lot of other applications. To be as small as possible. Small means a lot of different customers. So it's not possible for big companies to go to the prime minister and say, how I have a good idea, and if I don't purchase it, I close my factory, as big companies are normally doing. You have to look for a lot of small customers, which is a chance for small companies or startups, because you are not able to perhaps to cover the whole market of a country, of a region. But here you have small customers, and if you have a good service, perfect to develop. And the last is industry near service. As you could hear before, a lot of these technological necessities, they are in the hand of big companies like Siemens, ABB. If you remain in the electric market, you have no chance to find technical solutions. You cannot develop a new gas turbine with e-fuel. But a lot of these companies are unable, for instance, to implement artificial intelligence in their product range. They have no idea. The managers do not understand. They have no personnel today more than in the past. And if you have a good idea, I give you an artificial example afterwards. If you have a good idea, then you can go there and say, okay, I have it, black box, be careful, they like to copy everything, and you sell your service, integrate your knowledge into their into their game not game, into their products, and a lot of applications are existing there. If you have an idea, take for instance photovoltaics. If you have the grid, Verbundgesellschaft, they need a lot of data from consumption. They need a lot of data from weather, from tendency even outside of the Austrian border, to combine it to know as precise as possible what they have to produce in the next 15 minutes. You know, electric energy cannot be stored in the easy way. I told you examples with batteries and so on, but on a big amount, this do not work so easy. You have the energy you produce, you have to use at the same moment. If not, you have an instability with voltage and with frequency. It's not so easy. And the more they can make a planning, even in microgrids, the more they can optimize the production. Who is able to read all the data? Artificial intelligence. I give you an example outside of this. Some years ago, some startup went to a political party and told, I will help you to analyze the way of election, so how the people decided in an election over the last years, and I will combine it with religious square meters of the apartments, single or married, children or not. And the politics was astonished. How is it possible? What have they done before? They went to the Central Statistic Administration of Austria. All these figures are free of charge. They are existing. But you have to combine it, you have to understand it, and you have to sell the service to somebody. artificial intelligence pure. And in the energy market, as I give you an example, it's the same possibilities. So for you, a lot to do. I wish you good luck for this.
Do we have any question? Is any one of you currently working in the field of energy or looking into venturing into? No? But I guess you're also all concerned about energy, like the consumption, the costs, the sustainability factor. Thanks a lot, Rainer, for this really witty presentation. I learned a lot, I have to say. Because we are short on time, actually, I just want to see if you have one more advice to us. How should we tackle this massive challenge of the future of energy? I mean, you already gave us some advices, but where should we start? Where do you think is the one point where if we change that, then that's a massive puzzle of the big picture?
You have to go to the politics and tell them, stop being stupid. I'll give you an example from Austria. We have since 1 year and a half, we have a new way of subsidies for photovoltaics. In the past, especially for small plants, when you wanted to do it, you filled some paper or some screens to the Kommunalkredit or to the Klimafonds, and you have to place some papers and documents and so on, and you got a certain amount per kilowatt peak. Then we got a new administration with a new lady minister, which is much more intelligent. She killed the old system. She needed 2 years to create a new. And the result is that you can 4 times a year at 5 o'clock in the afternoon try to be in the first 20 seconds to put in a long number, the Zählpunkt. And if you are in, you have a certain chance to get, after waiting a lot of time, your subsidy. If not, you are allowed to wait another 3 months and then try it again. This is an intelligent system. The politics says everybody will get subsidy if you do some photovoltaic. But they forgot to tell how. Even we tried to adapt a little bit in the beginning of this year. Since yesterday, you have on the homepage of the ÖMAG the pre-information that there is a good chance that the adaptation of the regulation, which makes it, for some applications, a little bit easier, that it will be decided this week in the Parliament. The next call should be tomorrow at 5 o'clock, which was pre-announced in the concept of this regulation in January. And now, 2 days before it should happen, we had to declare we will shift it to next Thursday. This is Austria. And from the principles, they change nothing. You have to be within the first 20 seconds to do it. So your work is to call Mrs. Gewessler every day and ask her how she wants to make sure that what she promised you will be realized. Had nothing to do with green or red or black. This is politics, and this is in a lot of things. You want to make a windmill, you need 3 years to get it okay, despite the problems of the neighbors. Because our administration, which wants to shift Austria to 100% new energy, renewable energy, forgot to transfer it into their regulations. You had in Salzburg 20 years discussion to make the 400 kilowatt line south of Salzburg. 20 years, no problem. But we should, in 8 years, we should be autonomous. This is politics, and it's you. It's not the newspapers, it's not the Kronenzeitung, it's you. If you make no pressure, why by hell they should work? Because work is work, efficiency, Schnitzel to work. You lose a lot. That's the problem. So please start. When you go out, you call her. And you will have on the ministry, will have a chat box, will tell you, please wait.
So using our voice that we have in a democratic country, but then also I guess you brought up some really exciting opportunities from a business perspective that we can all think of, how we can solve these challenges and at the same time creating a profitable business out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot again, Rainer.
Okay, thank you for your interest.